All right, good evening, everybody. The joint meeting of the Planning and Development Subcommittee and Town Council meeting, July 28th, 2020, 5:30 here in the Veterans Room. Agenda items. Roll number one is roll call. Dee Dee.
Here.
Mr. Adams is here. Catherine, excused. Councilor Lazo, excused, or absent. Catherine's absent. Dow, absent.
Long time no see.
Councilor Marquetti, can you sit in, please? Thank you very much. Councilor Marquetti will sit in. So we do now have a quorum. Agenda item number 2, consider and accept plan and development meeting minutes of July 18th, 2022. Just need a first and a second, please.
I'll make the motion to accept the minutes.
Thank you. You want to take a look at them? I didn't bring it yet. Oh, they have them in there.
Second.
Okay. Discussion. All right. No discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? 0. Agenda item number 3. Discuss the appointment of Dolores LaRochelle to Planning and Development Subcommittee for a 1-year term effective immediately through July 31st, 2023. State ethics in good standings. Okay.
I can't do anything.
I'll second it.
I'll kind of abstain.
All right. Discussion.
No.
Thank you once again for all the hard work you have provided us, from the redevelopment authority all the way to this. Thank you. I really appreciate your time, Dee Dee. Thank you. Anything else? All right. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstained. 201. All right. Agenda item number 4.
Should they close the door?
No, you can't.
Oh,
Open meeting law.
you can't close the door?
No.
Well, I guess you can close the door. They should be able to open. They should be able to. It's okay. We'll be all right.
Okay,
We'll be fine.
okay,
If it gets too loud, I'll go out there.
okay.
I don't want the perception it's closed.
Okay.
All right, number 4, discuss, recommend applying for the Department of Transportation Safe Streets for All, or the DOT SS4A planning grant for $60,000 due September 15th, contingent on a 20% local match to be raised using the Capital Stabilization Fund 0842, and allow the town manager to sign any related paperwork.
Make the motion.
Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Dean.
I'm gonna explain that.
The DOT SS4A was brought to my attention by the CMRPC, the local regional planning agency, and then again by our assistant town manager, Adriana Rovena, as a suggestion for potential future grants. It dovetails well with our Complete Streets Tier 2 plan that we'll be going for, the prioritization plan. I had gotten permission early on from the town council to go ahead with the Tier 2 prioritization plan. However, learned from Mass DOT that it's on a rolling basis that I can apply for the Tier 2 prioritization plan. I therefore waited to kind of learn more about this SS4A to see how they could work together to avoid any duplication of efforts. And so basically we can get a scaled down version of the SS4A planning document if we're awarded the SS4A. We can get a scaled down version that wouldn't be as expensive as what they would project for a full-blown plan, and at the same time get the state's version of that plan called the Complete Streets Tier 2 and have met both the requirements for those different funding opportunities. So once we complete the Complete Streets Tier 2, we'd be able to go for Complete Streets money when we're doing big projects to pay for things like sidewalks that we don't otherwise have funds for, or that Chapter 90 doesn't pay for. With the SS4A grant, once you do the planning grant, we could potentially go for federal funds in future years that are available. There's 3 more years of federal funds available. And so this is the first step towards being eligible for those funds.
Great. Councilor Marquetti?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. Now, the purpose of the Capital Planning Committee was to try and plan for future capital needs of the town.
Right.
So we established the capital stabilization fund so that we can plan ahead. What do we need next year in capital items? The way it's been run in the past, we would have, this is how much money we have in free cash, what can we buy? So our purpose was to, let's establish a capital stabilization account. We know what we need, let's try and raise funds to match what we need. So that to me is good planning. To have this grant suddenly come into existence, I looked at the capital budget, this is not on there, I realize it just now came through.
Right.
So, but to use capital stabilization funds on this, I don't think it's a good idea. I'm not opposed to this, but I would like to preserve that capital stabilization funds for good planning.
No, excuse me. Go ahead, Councilor Marquetti. I apologize.
I'll hold off.
Go ahead, sir, please.
Okay, so, like I said, capital stabilization fund was so we can plan ahead for all of our capital needs, and I would like to keep building on that fund. I'd like to keep building it up so we know, hey, we're gonna keep raising this money, keep putting money in there, and next year we don't have to scramble to find out where we're gonna find the funds. I'm not opposed to this, but there are so many different funds that we could tap into. We don't need to use capital stabilization. There's free cash, there's the regular stabilization account, there's the wells money, there's the marijuana money, there's the solar money, I don't know where that's at, and there's also all kinds of funds in the town hall account that could be transferred that have not been used for years. So I would just ask that we not start tapping into capital stabilization funds. I realize that it can be used for this.
Like taking a breath and breathing for a second and get it all started built up.
Right, I would like to
before we
build
start
it up
taking out of-
before we start tapping into it. That's all I'm asking.
Oh, absolutely. Go ahead.
Yeah, so the only reason this came up was because I called the accounting office asking which account they recommended for use, and then the driving questions were, what will these future projects be? If they will be capital, maybe a good use would be the capital stabilization fund. And so if the town wanted to suggest a different account and vote on that for town council, you tell me what the best strategy is.
I don't think I actually agree with Councilor Marquetti, because I know I know how much energy he put into this, and along with everybody else that was part of it. It's kind of, we just threw $250,000 in yesterday, which I don't blame you for going to see how it works, or the town accountant. I would ask that hey Catherine, I would ask that the town accountant, and I can do that right after this meeting, and say, we can amend this. I mean, we can go ahead and amend this to just state local match, and then for right now. But in the meantime, between now and the time that this is all due to NOR, we could have another possible account, just having a conversation with Karen.
Or we could say,
Yeah, go ahead, no.
or we could just say, for now, let's take it out of free cash, and then if later she says you can't take free cash, we can amend it at the town council meeting. How does that sound?
Or we leave it the same, and then we amend it there, and you have my word on that one too.
Yeah, well, I would just assume not keep capital stabilization.
I got
fund
it,
in there.
all right. I understand where you're coming, I got
agree
it.
with them, yeah. I
So-
agree with them.
Okay, so we go ahead.
So, alternatively, Karen did suggest stabilization, or maybe I may have said stabilization, and
It should
then
be
that's when she
two-thirds vote.
suggested, right, and that's when she suggested potentially the capital based on it being capital projects in the future.
Yeah, and I think that has a lot, Dee Dee, do you have anything else? I'm
No,
sorry, did you
no.
have anything? Catherine,
No,
welcome.
I just agree with what Mike's saying.
Okay. No, I understand it.
So why don't we just strike out capital and just leave it as the regular stabilization fund? As she suggested, just the regular stabilization account. And that would be what, 084, would that be 1 or 0?
How about this, just strike out the portion of the capital stabilization fund 0842, just for now.
All right,
And then at the meeting, we'll have a better idea.
okay.
We could turn around and say, let's just go ahead and, in the meantime, we could work with Karen to see if there's another account, because there are capital funds that we have not updated yet, and that's on a list of things to follow through with. Also, you have ARPA, you also have a few other, opportunities somewhere.
I'll make a motion to amend it though, then to strike out the capital stabilization fund 0842.
I second.
About contingent on a 20% local match, and then,
allow.
and allow.
Okay, that's fine. To be raised and to use in the capital. Strike out to be raised using the capital stabilization fund 0842.
And the night at the meeting, we'll have possibly the account that we would like to take it from. I
Sounds
think there's
good.
an agreement with it.
Yep.
But in that sense, we can amend it all we want on the night of the town council meeting. We're just going over instead of capitalization money.
Yep.
Councilor Marquetti brought up a good plan. Doesn't want to really touch it. We just threw 250 in there. Obviously, Ms. Dean and the town accountant used it for what it's supposed to be used for, but just want to put a pause on it until we can get some more money in there and see where it's going. But anyways, okay, so I'll accept the amendment.
I know.
Second it? Okay, all those in favor of the amendment? Okay, opposed? All right. So the amendment will read, discuss, recommend applying for the Department of Transportation Safe Streets for all DOT SS4A planning grant for $60,000 due September 15, contingent on a 20% local match, and allow the town manager to sign any related paper.
Sounds good.
All those in favor? Or is there discussion? All those in favor? Good.
So now do you want me to step out and let them?
Yeah, I'll go ahead if you don't mind. Let's see. Okay, all right. We'll go on to agenda number 5. Discuss, recommend town council approve entering into an agreement with the owner of 111 Central Street to hire Graphics Unlimited to furnish and install rigid awnings for $24,856 from the Community Development Block Grant FY19, and allow the town manager to sign any related paperwork.
So moved.
All right,
Second.
okay. Ms. Dean?
Looking for the memo. Is this it right here? I have it somewhere. Just forgive me one moment.
You need it? I've got the memo.
It's in one of my piles here. Okay.
All right.
Okay, so this has been in the works since calendar year 2020. I have asked for multiple extensions to be able to extend out the awning projects. One of the issues was I wanted to do the 111 Central awnings before any other projects because this was going to be the more expensive of the rest. And so I left, down at the bottom that quick Excel spreadsheet of the money we've spent to date of the $60,000 from the commercial rehab. We spent, in 2018, we spent $41,000 on the Globe Village Plaza sign. So a small portion of that went to this grant. Then we spent on 22 Hamilton, $12,000 and change for their awning and their sign. I think that was a great improvement. It increased the impact on the Central Street parking lot improvements. We listened to the Historical Commission's suggestions of making those top windows a little more aesthetically pleasing. Then we went for the design for the rigid awnings. I went out for 3 quotes. I got back only one from Graphics Unlimited. Right now, the property is changing hands. Never easy with McCarthy's. The property's changing hands as we speak from John McCarthy to the UAll LLC, but I've gotten a letter from the bank, from Savers Bank, stating that it's in, John McCarthy's name, it is going to UAll, and that if it should, and outside of the letter, if it should just say with John McCarthy, it's whoever we're completing the work with at the end of the project, we lien them. And so it will likely be UAll that we end up just leaning. But if we lien John, and then we just transfer it to UAll, we don't care either. Either way, as long as we've got somebody that we can hold accountable that's holding on to the property. And so we got $24,000 to do 3 awnings. It's going to be a large rigid awning in front of the left side of the building entrance, a large rigid awning on the right side where Fidel's was, and then on the corner backside, there's a door opening. We're gonna do a small shed awning there. And so it'll be a huge improvement. One of the buildings that was in our slum blight target area that was rated at its worst condition. I'm excited to see the work get done.
Okay. Questions? Dee Dee?
Where is this Globe Village sign?
Oh, that's this, sorry, Big Bunny Plaza.
Big Plaza?
Yeah,
Okay.
they're corporate
I was trying to
names.
figure out where is this Globe Village sign?
That's the electronic one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
Okay.
nice.
yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other discussion? So you all knows that they'll possibly have a soft lien on their property as soon as they take over.
If you notice, when I provided you the agreement, if I provided you an agreement? I did, on page 2. So notice it's made out to both names. And so I'm just keeping both names on it so that everybody's on notice. And then it has an asterisk at the bottom that says deeds transfer slated to be completed once proof of mortgage from Savers is completed. So, yes, either way,
You're all good
I'm
with that?
confident. Yep. I just don't want to ever see a situation like the 100-foot 111 Central where we didn't lien anything in the acquisition process, and then we had nothing to hold when the property was sold.
Do you know when it's going to plan on being sold? When the transaction's going to happen?
It's going through in September, but it's all contingent on them getting X, Y, and Z, and so it could be.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and so so what we do is we're not going to sit and wait. We're going to, whoever's got the property at the time that we're done, we lien. Whether it's John, whether it's.
It doesn't matter. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Any other questions? All right. All those in favor? Opposed? Here's one. Number 6, discuss recommend accepting the quote from Soper Construction Company for McCann Field's Little League Field Expansion for $6,140 from the Community Development Block Grant for FY19 and allow town manager to sign all related papers.
So moved.
Sir.
Did I?
Second.
And Catherine, you second it?
Yes.
All right.
Did I give everybody a memo for this?
So what you provided us was this.
I can't believe that. I just saw that in the packet. So there was a memo for it that I don't know how I didn't include in the materials. And so I don't know if you just want to take a minute to read it yourselves before I get into it. It's pretty straightforward.
So Nora will need this too, because
Yes.
obviously for the town council. Okay. That memo would have helped, actually.
Yes, exactly.
Because this says FY20, right? FY20 on the memo, FY19 on the motion.
Oh, it does? Oh, yes, then we'll need the motion correct. The motion needs to be corrected also.
Okay.
Is it a typo?
So on my email to her, I have no year. And then on my memo, I have just in the subject. So did you,
Well, just a friendly amendment on it?
No, if it's a typo, we'll just
No,
maybe
no big deal?
correct it. Yeah.
Okay. So it is FY20?
You're not amending it, you're not changing or adding, you're just grammatically fixing it.
Just fix it to FY20.
okay. Okay, yes. And then you'll note 3 lines up from the bottom in the first paragraph, it says expanding the outfield. It should read expanding the infield. Thank you, Drew. I'll correct that for the town council also.
So outfield should be infield?
Yeah. Okay. Christine, go ahead.
I hope that the memo is pretty straightforward. For those who didn't read it, basically what we have done is, we budget 2 years before for projects when we're putting in the application. And we submitted in the original application for shade structures, fencing for the back softball field, backstop netting for the front baseball field, and scoreboard, because these were all à la carte items inside the McCann master plan from 2014 or 15. Drew sort of new to the president position as of probably after I put the application into CDBG. Would not have been somebody I had gotten feedback from in advance. And so we had gotten as much public input as we end up getting at these, during these application processes. I think we were put in touch with more of the adult field people than we were with the Little League people, but that's not relevant so much because the adult field's its own maintenance and projects usually. And so here we are, talking about going forward with the scoreboard. We got together initially about the project, and Drew said, why a scoreboard? We don't really need one right now. It's not broken. Although it is included in the master plan because it's expected that it should be replaced, that it is going to be approaching its shelf life. For now, we can survive without it. The reason we were getting together with Drew was to rank priorities, because I said, I'm afraid we're not going to be able to afford all of this. If we had to exclude one thing, what's the least important? And that's when he said the scoreboard. Since then, well, actually in that same meeting, he said, what on my wish list is to be able to play intermediate baseball. That's when I learned that, and I forgive my ignorance for not knowing, that we were the first in the country for baseball. What was our rank?
2015, we won the Little League World Series.
Yeah.
A World Series. I can't even believe that. I'm so proud of this town for that, and I'm sorry that I'm only learning these things now. But I mean, so I feel like anything we can be doing to help, promote the baseball team that once had this amazing celebrity status, right? And so if just for a few $1,000s we can expand the infield, it allows them to be able to play intermediate softball, or intermediate baseball. And then he was very proactive about getting a quote, and then we went out for the official quotes to make sure it meets the prevailing wage and all the CDBG requirements. We only got one quote back from Soper, and so if we can go forward with it, I think it would be one of the first steps towards what we could do towards the field. We're also talking about other things we might be able to do very soon, like can we try to get them some lighting? So we'll see.
Any questions? George?
With the Henry Street Field, I got a little bit involved with the lighting for softball association. Where are we at with that in this?
I can talk to you offline of that, absolutely. Oh, off of this one?
Well,
That's a completely different, I can talk to you right offline after the meeting if you want,
Okay.
just to get you an update on that. It's going very, very well though, so far. Yeah.
So what I had said about 45 minutes ago was, we don't want to bring this up and get anybody's expectations up if we can't follow through. And so, it's a soft balance between, wish lists and what we can actually do.
And I just briefed Mr. Julian too as well on that. Go ahead.
Again, going back with the fields, back when I was on the recreation committee, we spent a lot of money doing the fields over. And the problem that happened with, once the fields were done over, West Street was originally for Babe Ruth. Little League was originally for Henry Street, and T-ball was Morris Street. West Street, when it was redesigned so they could play spec games, because it didn't meet the criteria before, because of, I think the first baseline used to run into the building, so they shifted it over. The problem that I've seen over the course of the years is that we spend the money there, and the DPW doesn't maintain it. And if you look at, even at, I think it is West Street, they have the adult league that plays there, I think it is. And the infield is dirt, but the grass grows there. There's no maintenance or upkeep from DPW. So is there a way that we can make sure that this happens? I mean, to have a playable field is important.
So I just to answer this really quick, I know Councilor Marquetti, but it pertains to taking care of the fields. I got it. And one thing that's great is I was going to make a joke a few seconds ago about having a full-time recreation director, and this is the first time we're seeing a lot of stuff come from the fields itself where they're actually playing. And I hold that to obviously Ms. Dean, but Michael back there. So I think that's a question as the advisory committee gets set up, as the committee itself gets agenda up. I think that is perfect questions for it, but it's a legit question because I drive by those fields and I know how they look and what they should look like. So if you don't mind. Just wanted to, but I think it's a legit question to have.
Because even like this year with West Street Field, the kids started playing ball and they had a 2-foot hole on the third base line. That took weeks to get it filled in until the parents went there themselves to fill it in.
Right.
And that shouldn't happen.
That's sad.
You know, you spend the money to make the fields look good, to address issues, and then that money goes to waste because DPW or the school department's not maintaining it. Because it seems like when the ball season ends, everything else ends. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Councilor Marquetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. I just would like to know what exactly is going to be happening here. Expanding the infield? How much are you expanding? What's wrong with the fields now? Just give me an update.
So currently at Henry Street, the way that it's set up as a 45-60, which means the pitching mound is 45 feet back from home plate and the base paths are 60 feet long. That's great for up to the 12-year-old level. Currently right now we have a team that's playing 14 and up where they're playing over at West Street and they're playing on the 60-90 field. The pitching mound is 60 feet back from the home plate. Base paths are 90 feet long. There's that intermediate level which we are trying to help go from the 11 and 12-year-olds to get to that 14 level. There's a big jump in field size at that point. So what we're doing is, or my plan is to expand the infield so that we can go to what's the 50-70. We're pushing the pitching mound back 5 feet. We're going to extend the base paths 10 feet longer than they already are. With that in mind, that the goal is going to be that in the upcoming seasons, we are still going to maintain that 10 to 12 level of baseball. We're going to sink other bases in the ground, and we can have the caps so that we can play both levels at the same time during the season.
Nice.
The idea behind that is that with that intermediate level, it's not a drastic jump. The kids can stretch out their arms, they can get to that ability level, and then be ready to move on to what is the regulation size or the adult size baseball field, major league level play. Right now, currently where we are, we have a team that plays at the juniors level, and I was the coach for the majors level. We don't have that intermediate level for the kids to grow and start to develop their skills as well as baseball knowledge to get to that 14. It is a vastly different game between 12 and 14. My goal is to start to expand that and start building the program out so that we have all levels covered so that we can repeat what we've done in the past, maintaining a great program.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present.